When the end of the rope will be subjected to chafing, warranting protection with serving, the Sailmaker's eye splice should be considered. To its advantage, it's easy to tie and to taper. However, the splice length is longer and needs to be reinforced with serving or stitching. As before, we measure back from the end a distance equal to the splice length. The number of tucks required to build sufficient strength in the Sailmaker's eye is about 50% longer than the other splices we've looked at. So for example, when working with manila, 3 tucks were minimum for the lever's eye. In our 1/2 inch rope, this converted out to about 10 inches. So we will allow 15 inches for the splice in the Sailmaker's eye. We'll mark this location with some tape. That's about 15 there, I guess. And then to this we add the distance that we'll need for the eye loop itself. I'll be putting in a thimble, and I'll make it a little bit bigger and secure the thimble with seizing in this example, so we can make the loop about that big, and we'll mark this location with some tape. Now we'll put worming and parceling on the section of rope that'll make the eye between the 2 marking tapes. Since this process is outside the scope of these videos, I'll perform this step off camera. Refer to the whaleboat rigging video by Rigloff Matthew Otto. He does an excellent job of explaining the process. He also has another video on seizing, worth your time. I'll be using the manila yarn to do my worming, and some 3M friction tape for the parceling. Now I'll form the loop again, and with the thimble in place, I'll mark the section of the loop part that I will serve. I'll serve the part that's in contact with the thimble, leaving the rest open for the seizing. Now I'll seize between the 2 blue marks. We check to make sure our parceling and worming are square. That is, they go down the throat of the splice about the same distance as it is wide. It looks pretty good. So now we'll temporarily tape our worming back by the eye, and we'll start our splice right at the end of the parceling. I've married the 3 working strands into the standing part using the same procedure as in the rigger's eye. I'll refer you to that video number 4, I believe, for the procedure to do that. So now I'll go ahead and tighten the splice up so it's married tight. And now we're ready to start the Sailmaker splice, or the helical splice. You might wonder which way to start spiraling. We could take, for example, this strand and spiral around one behind it or the one in front of it. And the key is, when we lay it out flat, we want the fibers to, or the yarns of the strand to match more or less the yarns in the standing part. If we were to go the other direction, they'd be crossing at right angles. So that's the step. Basically it's a backhanded, and we'll flatten the strands out and then spiral around that same strand. We'll go 5 times in order to make the splice strong enough. Because we're back splicing and my thumbs are my most useful tool, I like to reverse the lay of the project and have the splice on my right and the standing part rope on my left. That way I can use my thumbs to work the spiral. It's basically the same procedures we did before, only we're spiraling instead of over and under tuck. Lay out the strands. And I'll continue that with this strand and then repeat the same process with the other 2 strands. Now I've made the 5 tucks for the main body of the Sailmaker splice. Now continue with the same process. Each of the strands I'll remove one of the yarns and then make a tuck, remove a yarn and make a tuck to create a taper. Now I'm down to 2 tucks, or 2 strands, excuse me, 2 yarns, so I'll go ahead and make the final tuck. And I'll repeat that for the other 2 strands. I finished the taper and it looks pretty good, so that pretty much takes care of the splice itself. Now I can take the worming that I put in place when I wormed the eye, and there's 6 strands, and because the rope now is essentially larger, I'll use 2 of these yarns when I worm it. I'll worm it and parcel it and then serve the splice itself and put some seasoning in when I put the eye thimble in. Again, that's outside the scope of this video. I refer you to Matthew Otto's videos.